Hi, my name is Kenneth Smollett, and you're here joining us for the sit down. Today we're here with presidential candidate Senator Kamala Harris. Thank you so much for being here.
It is great to be with you, and thank you, Candace, and everybody. Thank you.
So to get it started,
Okay.
I'd like to ask the guests, why you and why now?
Well, the time is now, and I will tell you that I know that we are at a moment that is an inflection moment in our country where we need to look in the mirror, ask a question, who are we? And we know that a big part of the answer is we are better than this. And so it has to be about leadership that not only has the ability, frankly, to say goodbye to Donald Trump, like, God, see you later, but also has the ability after we turn that page, because I could talk extensively about why I know how I will be able to defeat him. And I frankly look forward to being on that debate stage to do that. But for me, the issue about why now is really about the second part of that, which is after we turn that page, we have to be prepared to write the next chapter. Because here let's have some real talk.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's have some, I'm at that stage where it's like, I don't want to waste your time, Let's have some real talk. For the vast majority of us, and this is the point about the commonalities, when we wake up in the middle of the night with that thing that's been weighing on us, for the vast majority of Americans, it has to do with one of just a very few things. Personal health, health of their children or their parents. Can I get a job, keep a job, pay the bills by the end of the month, retire with dignity? Can I help my family member get off their drug or their opioid addiction? For so many seniors, do I have to make a decision about whether I fill my prescription or fill my refrigerator? For almost all of our students, how am I going to pay off those student loans? These are the things people have in common, and we need to speak to that.
Well, Senator Harris, hi, Anthony Carter, California, Los Angeles. How do we improve public education so that every child gets a great education regardless of family income?
That's right. Here's the thing. Government has three essential functions: public safety, public health, and public education. And we have failed our children on the issue of public education, and we are collectively paying a price. How do I plan on dealing with it? Well, in a number of ways. My first policy proposal as a presidential candidate, first one out the box, because it is that core for me, is what we need to do to pay our teachers their value. What I know is that teachers are paid 11% less than public school teachers, 11% less than similarly educated professionals. 94% of our public teachers come out of their own pocket to help pay for school supplies, right? You look at it, I've met more teachers who are working 2 and 3 jobs because they have a passion to teach, but they can't afford to pay their bills on only that salary. Here's another thing you probably know, and I am testament to it, probably many of us are. If a black child has had a black teacher before the end of 3rd grade, they are 13% more likely to go to college. If that black child has had 2 black teachers before the end of 3rd grade, they are 32% more likely to go to college. So now, couple that with the fact that, okay, now I'm going to skip to a different point, but they're directly connected. 85% of our black students coming out of college are saddled with student loan debt. Couple that with how poor we're paying our teachers. So what does that connect to, right? We look at the realities of what we need to do, and they are profound. So it's about teacher pay, and we will see outcomes. In fact, my proposal is also about for teachers who serve in more high-need districts, they actually get paid even more. The other failing is that the way we resource public schools is completely upside down. So it's based on the tax base of the local community. What does that mean? So the community that has a substantial tax base, because people are making a lot of money, that school district is going to be well funded. Meanwhile, the school district in the community that does not have a high tax base will not be well funded, in spite of the fact that that community has the highest need.
Hi, Senator Harris. I'm Jove Coleman from Canton, Ohio.
Hi.
Hi. So your past as prosecutor has continuously come up throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
Is there anything about being a prosecutor you regret? And if so, how do you plan on righting those wrongs as president?
So here's the thing. It does keep coming up. And let me just be really clear about this. I was born into a family and a community that was acutely aware of what's wrong with the criminal justice system. There is not a black man I know, be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker, who has not experienced some level of racial bias, if not racial profiling or excessive force. I was born into this. I didn't have to read about it later in life or to hear somebody demanding change to say, oh, that's a good idea. I knew it before people were demanding change. And I said to my family and to myself, why do we always have to be on the outside to try and change systems? Shouldn't we also be on the inside? So I made a very conscious decision to become a prosecutor. Also knowing that there are situations like the situations I experienced where I'm in my office as a fairly young DA and heard a bunch of people outside my office talking about how they were going to prove a gang case. And they started talking about the way the person was dressed and the neighborhood in which they were hanging out and the music they were listening to. And I stepped outside my office and I said, hey, so that neighborhood, I got people in that neighborhood. How they were dressed, often when I'm not at work, that's how I dress. And I'm going to date myself. And that music, I got a tape of that music in my car right now. At the time, it was too short. As an aside. I had experiences being the first black woman elected DA of any county in the state of California, of 40 million people, to create one of the first in the nation, initiatives that was about young men mostly, but also young women who were arrested for drug crimes and getting them counseling and support and jobs so that they would not become felons for life, dismissing the cases. When I did that, people said, what are you doing? You're supposed to be locking people up, not letting them out. People said to me, why are you giving them jobs? I want a job. And I said, no, this is about correcting what we know is wrong with a system that has been about mass incarceration and at its core about criminalizing a public health issue, which is what was happening in terms of drugs in the community. I will always reject the notion that some people are trying to push to suggest that all communities don't want to be safe. All communities want to be safe. We all want to know that our grandmother can walk down the street and go to church and be safe. We all want to know if our home gets burglarized, we call 911, someone responds. We all want to know if a child is molested, if a woman is raped, if somebody is killed, that there will be serious consequence and accountability. What we don't want is racial profiling and excessive force, and to be black or brown to be probable cause for an arrest. And I have fought my whole life on that. And frankly, in this campaign, I think there are some people that are trying to distort my record as a way to try and turn what might be a strength into a weakness. I am fully aware of that whole meme about Kamala as a cop, and there are strategic reasons people are doing that. But I know, so I really appreciate the question because it gives a chance to really talk about what that was and what that is.
Hi, Senator Harris. I'm Karika. I'm from here, LA. Actually, a more proper greeting for you would be hello, Soror.
Hello, Soror.
So I also went to an HBCU. I went to Xavier University of Louisiana.
Yes, of course.
And as an HBCU graduate, I want to know, as president, what will you do to protect our HBCUs?
Yeah. So, even in the Senate, I actually got a bill through. It actually got passed and written into law about upgrading our HBCUs around, so many of them are like the infrastructure is literally crumbling because they're so old. And so many are historic monuments. So did that, which is, we just have to deal with the structures. It seems like maybe a small issue, but it's a big one, right? We don't want our students can't go into the library because it's shut down, right? Because the pipes and the infrastructure are falling apart. So there is that. There is the work that I am doing around investing and what will be an investment of $60 billion into STEM through our HBCUs. What you and I know is that in the majority of the professions, whatever they are, but really also with an emphasis on STEM, our HBCUs produce the majority, or at least a significant majority of African Americans who go into these professions and thrive. So HBCUs are a very big part of my plan on every level. And then it is also about what we need to do, looking more macro at the overall agenda of just saying, look, we need to deal with the racial wealth gap in America and acknowledge all the ways it came about. And then there are actually things we could do that are really specific. Because you know what, I'll tell you one of the things that maybe you figured out about my way of doing things, I'm tired of complaining. I'm like, look, let's just get something done. Let's get something done. And so that's how I think about.
Hello, Senator Harris. My name is Shane Bernard. I'm from Philadelphia. First, thank you so much for being here. This is super exciting. In the United States, the 1033 program transfers excess military equipment to civilian law enforcement agencies. I guess my question is, what is your stance on that program? And if elected, would you look into ending that program, especially during your first 100 days?
Yeah, we need to end the militarization of police departments, and and I've done that work in the past. It has to be about recognizing, again, and just looking at history, and how that all came about. Part of the failure of the criminal justice system, which has led to the injustices, including death. Not to mention mass incarceration, all of that, is this language and this mindset that evolved about war against Americans by the American government. Like, let's be clear about that. Because now we're talking about then tools of war being used in that war. But if you don't think of it as a war, maybe you will realize you don't need tools of war. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's it. Like when we break it down, let's also see what we're talking about. Because the reality of it is one of the biggest failings, which is a part of this, not necessarily the cause, in fact, not the cause, but a part of this, is one of the biggest public policy failings of the United States is ignoring the significance of mental health. And then what that did is it led into the criminalization of manifestations of mental health. So, that's in general how I think about overall that, it is, yes, we have to get rid of weapons of war. We have to get rid of militarized and militarizing police. But we also have to really upend how we are thinking about the criminal justice system. Because what has been flawed is that the goal has not been the right goal of the system. And therefore, the right tools have not been used. We have to agree, and we have to see it for what it is, which is for far too long, people have been getting away with saying the criminal justice system is supposed to be responsible for creating healthy and safe communities. No. If the goal is healthy and safe communities, if you understand that to be the goal, then you will understand militarization of a police department ain't never going to get you there.
So thank you so much for joining us today. We learned a lot more about you. We're so excited you were able to have an office. And I just want to give you the opportunity, any last words or any thoughts about misconceptions or what you want to make sure millennials know about you.
So I mentor a lot of people. I have over a long period of time. I mean, I've mentored people who are now, like the first black woman mayor of a major city, or who are, running these major prosecutors' offices in big cities. I mean, and one of the things that I say and I found recently that I've been saying to folks that I mentor is to talk a little bit about what it means to break barriers. Because we're still making so many firsts. And it's really important for everybody to understand what's involved in breaking barriers. Because you know what occurs to me sometimes, that people think breaking barriers means you start on one side of the barrier and then you just show up on the other side of the barrier. No, there's breaking involved. There's breaking involved. And when you break things, it's painful. And when you break things, you get hurt. And you get cut. And you may bleed. It will be worth it. But it is not without pain. And I say that to encourage that we have the strength to know it is worth it. I say that to say, don't shy away when it feels a little painful, because that's what's involved. But you will never stand alone when you're trying to do it. But do know what is involved. And in this campaign, look, there is a whole conversation happening about electability. And I am fully aware that for us to win this election will take a lot of people to be able to have the faith to believe that we can do what has not been done before. And it will not be easy to act on that. But one of the things that we have to remind folks of is we cannot ever be passive and wait for somebody else to give us permission to say, oh, that's possible, therefore go on and try and do it. We have agency. And when we get into something and we do it knowing, okay, y'all haven't seen it before, I haven't either, but I know it's possible, and I know it will not come without sacrifice and hard work, we can move mountains. We can move mountains. So that's how I'm thinking about the task ahead.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good luck on the continuation of that.
Thank you.
Again, we appreciate you being here.
I appreciate the time and all the leaders. Thank you all.
Thank you.